welcome back to the MTR Network. Is Chris and Deepom here, and man, I think it is. This is the first character corner, 2017, man.
This is the hell of a way to start.
Oh man, like listen, I'm really excited about this, yo. But yeah, man, it's the first character corner. I'm really excited just to do this one in particular, but I'm excited to do character corners in 2017. At the end, if you're not following me on Twitter, what I did at the end, like in December at some point, I think it was after our last one, I went through like my top 10 favorite character corners we've done, and I was going through them, and I was like, "Dude, we've done 28 of these, man." Like
you said the number to me, and I was like, "That's not right. That doesn't sound right."
And I was like, "Yo," and I think I took out the ones that was just the character that didn't include the interviews you've done and the interviews that the doctor did for
because that's crazy. Because Dr. Doom would count as one, and we did 3 of those.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
The Dr. Doom one really was 3 of them, yo. I don't know, and they were 3 full ones too.
Dude, they were 3 long.
They weren't even like we did 2 on the Teen Titans. I was like, okay, it was all right, but the Doom one, it was just, I don't know who'll ever get to that. Oh man, I can't tell you guys. I've said this before. This is my favorite show to do because it really involves me going back and just reading a bunch of comic books. I mean, that's what I did. And today we're doing Colossus and Kitty Pryde, and obviously that means X-Men, and that obviously means getting back into. Listen, man. As much as I love the MCU and as much as I love the Avengers, and as much as I talk shit about Fox and their X-Men movies, the X-Men are what I grew up on, yo.
There's nothing in the world I want to succeed more than X-Men movies.
Right. Like, I want those movies to be good. I know they're not going to be good. Dude, I read I had an Insanity Check yesterday, and I had Jax on, and I read him the synopsis of Logan, and the look on his face was so disgusting, yo.
It's a disgusting premise. The thing is, we do these readings, and I'm just like, motherfucker.
Right.
It's so frustrating because you're like, it didn't have to be this. It doesn't have to be this way.
Look, we're going to get into this. And I've talked about how my feelings on Days of Future Past, the movie and in the comic books.
Trash.
But
the movie was trash.
Right. But when you
read, talk about the comic like that.
I know you're not, but when you read the comic and compare it to the movie, you're like, well, I mean, shit, maybe they could have done something a little bit better.
Okay, before we get into anything else, what happened in the comic book is that it got blown out of proportion.
No, I get you. I'm not even.
If you read it as just what's supposed to be a 2-issue little. Honestly, if you look at everything else that Claremont and Byrne and Austin were doing,
yeah,
it was kind of a filler piece.
No, it is. Yeah.
But the implications opened up so many things.
It never should have been.
It's the last thing they did before their final issue, which was, I think, 143.
Yeah. Which
was Kitty versus the demon in the X-Mansion on Christmas Eve.
Yeah. It should never have gotten to the point where they make a movie out of it.
Right, exactly. It's important to the mythos is what colors you now, looking back. Like, how many bad stories are tied to that 2 issues later?
Right. I mean, but you shouldn't, it's just, it frustrates me. But, like I said, we've done a few X-Men. We did, one of the first comic book clubs, and not a character, first comic book club we ever did was on Josh Whedon's Astonishing X-Men, and we're going to talk about that.
Honestly, this was just an excuse for me to talk about that run again.
Exactly, and we're going to end up talking about because
I just want to talk about Joss Whedon running X-Men.
Right, because that run is so Kitty and Colossus, and
it's their story.
It is their story. So, but that was our first comic book club we ever did. Was that series, and it's so good, and everybody loves it. We've done. Emma Frost, which is actually that was a surprising character corner for me. I thought that was actually really, really interesting going through that. Magneto was obviously it's fucking Magneto. Why not?
You basically have Magneto was right tattooed on you.
I mean, listen, I may or may not have the Magneto was right shirt.
I know you do. Let's just erase the mythos here. I know you own that shirt.
I'm just saying here. But and then I guess this is our third set of Xbox we do it, and like I said. We tried not to do X-Men as much just because, man.
Okay, if you guys listen to us, you got to realize that through all the things that we've talked about, we're both X-Men junkies.
Yeah.
And I told you all the time, I said, you want to do X-Men? You give me 1 day's notice, I'll be fine.
Look, I'm gonna tell you. So normally what happens is, Deepalm comes with a list of books to read. I'll come on my own. Then he emails me. We email back and forth. And we come up with a list. Deepalm did send me a list of books, but what it was is more like a timeline of books, and I just went
Claremont. I don't know tell you.
Right, and I just filled because I already knew. I just filled in the gaps with the other books I knew that were going to fit in there, and I was just like, all right, cool, that's it. I mean, I didn't really need him to do it, but I was like, formality wise, let's go ahead and get this out of the way, just to make sure we're on the same page. And then we were, and I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, all right, cool. And what happened was, I told him right before we got on. I fell down the Kitty Pryde and Colossus rabbit hole, and I was just reading everything. And so, yeah, it's
so just, now after this rabbit hole, do you see why I get mad when people talk about Claremont?
Oh yeah, I mean, I know. Here's the thing: when it comes to older X-Men books and older things like that, I like throwing cold water on people because
you like to see me get mad on the internet. That's why
it's not really directed at you because you are nuanced and you understand. But there are people out there going, oh man, Days of Future Past like the greatest X-Men story ever told. I'm like, yeah, hey, listen, dude, fucking calm the fuck down. Like, it's 2 fucking issues that you can really do without. I get the importance.
People don't realize that was the 2 of the last 3 issues Claremont ever wrote for main X-Men.
Right. I'm just like, dude, get the fuck out of here. It's not, no. All right.
That was him closing out his contract.
Right. All right. Let's fucking.
He was contractually obligated to write those issues. That was part of his larger story.
You know what it is sometimes to me? It's like, again, I have to throw cold water on shit. It's like when people sort of go, man, are you reading Injustice? And I'm like, nigga, just calm the fuck down. Like, okay, I get it. It's interesting. You like it. But calm the fuck down. It's not the greatest this is the greatest Justice League story ever told. It's fucking no, it's not. It's what the fuck's wrong with you? That's what happens with me in Claremont and stuff and some stuff like Days of Future Past. But no, these are the X-Men books I grew up with. You know? They just are. Here's the thing. I talk shit about Days of Future Past. I have 2 of are they fucking signed? They might be signed. I have the two Days of Future Past issues on my wall. Graded. All right. So listen. Listen. All right. I'm in this. All right. I know what's going on, but I just want people to slow the fuck down with the shit
that I can understand.
Right. It's just it gets out of fucking hand, man. This is the greatest thing ever told. Did you read Days of Future Past? Did you?
Did you? That's always a good question. Are you sure you did?
Right. It's like it takes 2.
Or did you read an article about it?
It literally. You're right. That's more likely what they did because it literally takes maybe 10 seconds to read. Yo, it's not that.
It's not that deep.
It's not that deep. Yeah, they're signed. I just looked at it. Yeah, they're signed. I had the second issue signed. 9.4 and 9.6. And I'm pretty sure the second one is signed by Claremont. So, yeah. Just throwing it out there. Bragging. Humble brag.
Everyone just knows what that was, right? That was just Chris brag.
Just throwing it out there. All right. Let's get into this.
I can't believe we just gave time on this podcast. Just to listen. Like, we waited for you to research your brag. You bragged, you researched, and then you re-bragged. Kind of impressive.
Hey, listen, man.
That's an evil-ass laugh, by the way. I hope everyone heard that evil-ass laugh.
Villain agenda, man. It's not, it's a lifestyle, not a choice, yo. I'm just saying. All right, let's get into this. I guess we'll start with, obviously the first appearance, the first person out of this group to appear, these 2, appears Colossus, Giant Side X-Men #1, which basically introduced Colossus, Storm, first appearance of Colossus, Storm, Nightcrawler, I believe. Yep. Who else is in there? It's
Sunfire,
and there's one more. Who's the Native American?
Thunderbird.
So you get the first appearance of those characters. You know what I did that kind of a good compliment to this? I went and read. There's an X-Men Origin Colossus book.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, most of almost I would say about 99, like always, 99% of the stuff is on Marvel Unlimited. So I went and found the X-Men Origin Colossus book. And what it basically does is it tells you Colossus' origins up to, and it literally ends with Professor X showing up just like it did in Giant Side X-Men to recruit Colossus. And what makes it interesting is it gives you more mythos, because when you first meet Colossus, all you see is him in the field, in the Giant Side X-Men, in the field. He goes to save his sister, Ileana, who's about to get run over by a tractor. He changes into, obviously, his metallic form, stops the tractor trailer, and then Professor X shows up. In the origin, I think it's just a one shot, a little one origin. It gives you the whole spiel with his brother Mikhail leaving, and then his mutant power kicks in the day he finds out that he believes Mikhail is dead, is killed.
Right.
And it goes into that, and it goes into this whole thing that the family friend. I want to say the name is Victor, but I might just be racist against Russians right now.
Alexander?
It might have been Alexander. I gotta look it up and see. But the family friend who was a friend of Mikhail's sees him change and comes in. And he decides to help Peter and them keep
Vazin. I've got the book in front of me.
Okay.
Vazin.
Okay. And he decides to help keep this the secret that and again at this point they don't even know he's a mutant. They don't know what to call it. They keep this secret away from obviously the state, because they're living in Soviet Russia, and if they find out, they're taking Peter to use as their own weapon. So he keeps them a secret. But the state kind of figures out that the friend is lying. So they put this guy Ivan as a deep cover agent to track Peter this entire time. So for 4 years, Ivan's just like, do you guys hate me? Do you guys hate me here? And put me in Siberia to track this guy, and nothing happens. Then one day, he hears Ileana say, shiny Peter. So she's like, and Peter's like, not here. So they go into the into the barn, and that's when Ivan sees him. So obviously Ivan goes, tells the state. They show up to try to take Peter. At this entire time, the friend who has been watching over him is trying to get in contact with somebody to find out more about mutants. He at one point he reads a newspaper that's basically the cover of X-Men 1.
Right.
And shows the attack on the Citadel. And he's contacted by Professor X, and Professor X basically tells him, hey, listen, at some point, I'll be there to help you protect Peter and things like that. And that's what happened. He helps the friend cover up, stop the state from coming in. He becomes the head of the intelligence agency, again, with the Professor X's help. And they kind of go through all this stuff. And then one day, Charles Xavier shows up, and it's that part in Giant Side X-Men. Like I said, it's actually pretty good. It's a really good intro into what leads up to that moment in Giant Side X-Men. And I thought it was really well. It's a one shot. It's there in Marvel Unlimited. It's not a hard read, quick read. That was pretty well, and it kind of just shows you, the basis of why Peter's where he at, the love he has for his sister and his family, and a sense of duty and things like that. So, I thought it was really interesting to see.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, again, that's just one of the, and I had never heard about it before, so it's just one of those things. Again, Marvel Unlimited does that cool thing where they give you that
that hookup.
Yeah, well, they show you the character, and they're like, "Oh, hey, do you want to read more about such and such?" Well, here you go. Read all you want about Colossus, and they just throw it in there for you, and so yeah, yeah. So, what do you want to go next for Colossus?
Well, I just kind of talk about Colossus as a character. He was introduced, like you said, Giant Size X-Men 1. We always saw the powers. He can transform his skin into organic steel.
Adamantium.
Is it really?
No, that's the Gail Simone.
Why would you do that? I was like, don't get mad.
Her troll is just is a recurring. It is the longest running troll I've ever seen in my life, yo.
And she just gets new people every day.
It is amazing.
And I'm just like, what are you new? Like, right? She does. Go ahead, ask her. Between
that and Cyclops' eye beams not being concussive.
Yo. If you guys are in for a good comic booky, nerdy entertainment, go find Gail Simone's. Like, either search Gail Simone the Cyclops or Gail Simone Green Arrow's also funny.
Oh yeah,
and Green Arrow Colossus.
She's the Arrow. Yeah,
her screwing with people on the internet you shouldn't have the right to write comics. You don't know what you're talking about. Right. Like, I did create Cyclops.
Right.
And you're like, oh no, these poor. But no, it's not adamantium. He tricked me really good. I was like, don't get mad at him. Like find a way to subtly correct him. Right. We can get through this. It's not adamantium. It's organic steel. Chris said, from Russia. One of the big things about him was Claremont wrote him as kind of a dichotomy. He's this big Russian farm boy with the heart of gold, the soul of a painter.
He's a painter. He's literally a painter.
He's literally a painter, and that manifests repeatedly throughout the run. But it was one of those characters where they let Claremont make the dichotomy in the character, like Nightcrawler being the demonic appearance, but being the devout Catholic. It's eventually a priest. Like it was one of Claremont's real staples. Storm the pickpocket, who was worshipped as a goddess. It's a staple that allowed him to go a lot of places with the character, and he did often with Colossus, but no better way did he do it was after the introduction of Kitty Pryde.
Yeah. I mean, Colossus is just one of those characters, and the other thing you got to know about Colossus is not just the heart of gold, and we're gonna get into this later on because there's something that when you get later on to when he becomes the Juggernaut, there's something that Kitty says to him. That she says to him before he leaves, before he does it, and she literally repeats the same thing afterwards. It's literally like the one thing about him. Like, this is a man who has an undying sense of doing right and honor, and like 100%. It is he will not hesitate to sacrifice himself. If it means saving the people he loves or an innocent person,
particularly if he knows what he's doing, if he's convinced himself what he's doing is right,
right. And sometimes, again, like you said, sometimes his decision to do it from an outside perspective is wrong, but from his viewpoint, it is 100% right. And it's
inassailable. It has to be done.
And you feel for him, like he makes these decisions, these sacrifices sometimes. And you're just like, oh, man, that was stupid, Peter. But fuck. All right, man. Like, all right, I guess we're doing it, you know? It's just a great character to have, like you said, this. And I think that's why we'll get more into other portrayals of this character. But it's also why I really did like the portrayal in Deadpool. Like, forget the look. Yeah, they nailed the look of him, right?
Right.
But it was his behavior. Like, the behavior of him that we laughed at. We're like, that's ridiculous. Him telling Negasonic to eat up and eat healthy. I'm like, no, that's Peter. Like, he would do that.
That's corny ass Peter.
He is so fucking corny and
it's
so
corny
ridiculous.
Peter. That's just who he is. It's corny Pete.
That is it, yo. It's like, you know, trying to get Deadpool to do the right thing and then being like, that is that big goofball, you know? That big dumb goofball that really comes out when he's around Kitty, but like that is what he is, and that's why I love that portrayal of him there. Because I'm like, oh, somebody got it. Now, they didn't just get the look of him, but they got the actual character, which is, you know, something that people just did not give them credit for as much in Deadpool as they should have. But yeah, they nailed it because that is him. You know, you're like, what the fuck? Come on, man. You know, so really love that.
I think the next big one for him is gonna be, I guess it's in here twice. I have it written down twice. Uncanny 115 or Classic X-Men number 21.
Yeah, 21. Yeah.
And that's where they write him really weirdly. It's a really weird issue. It's just a strange issue.
Yeah, it's
right?
a good way to put it.
Fair to say.
Yeah.
Basically, Peter ends up in the Savage Land defending these people. He gets hurt doing it. They nurse him back to health, and he has a kid with one of them.
Yeah.
And it's never mentioned again.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just it just feels like something that Claremont was setting up but never paid off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He introduces Kitty like very soon thereafter, and it's never brought up again.
I was about to say, yeah. I mean, like, so basically, Colossus is a deadbeat. And he's like 18.
He doesn't know it though.
He's like 18 at this point too, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not gonna lie too, it gets kind of rapey at some points because
it's a lot rapey.
Because the women are, and I'm not even talking about like Peter raping. I'm talking about them like
he's like, nah, I'm good.
Right.
Like,
And I think at one point, the funniest part though, at one point Logan's sitting there and Logan's like, hey, do you want to come with us? And Logan's like, nah, bro, I think this is all you. Like it is so fucking bad, yo.
You know what? As I read this, I was like, "Is this rapey?"
No, it was them. Them raping. Them women were the white teachers that get pregnant by the student. That's what that was.
You're 100% right. That's exactly what happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that was one of the things that it happens. You put it in there, and I was like, did they ever do anything with this? And I kept looking at them like...
Hold on, someone does. Hold on, I forget the series. Give me 1 second.
Because I was like, yo, what was it
called? There was a limited series they did, and it was supposed to be the next generation of X-Men, and it was featuring like Gambit's kids and Colossus' kid from this issue ends up at the school. And I'm torn. Give me a second. I'm gonna look this up really quickly. It's gonna bug the hell out of me. But they weren't bad books. I remember reading them. Not the end. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna keep looking this up.
Yeah, no problem.
We can talk some more.
All right, so like you said, like again, Colossus becomes a very important piece of the X-Men. But I think the next again, there are stories there clearly using him. But I think the next really big thing is when you introduce Kitty. Right, and Uncanny X-Men 129. That's her first appearance, and I think that to me, the first really importance of bringing in Kitty was one, at that point she was going to be one of the youngest X-Men.
She's 14.
Yeah, she's 14.
I make a very big point of saying she's 14.
Yeah, we need to do that because I mean there is a thing about the whole Colossus. He's 18, she's 14. We'll get into that in a minute. But it's also important just because at this point, remember, the X-Men themselves started off as a young team. So when you bring in this young girl, you now have a way of the other X-Men kind of... I mean, they've already been kind of growing up, but even in that first panel, when you're reading that first panel, when they go to talk to her parents are telling her, they're like, yeah, go with the professor's other students. And I'm like, well, she's talking to Storm. I'm like, well, Storm's a little bit older than that, so you're still calling them students? So it's like... It was kind of the way for the series to kind of grow up a little bit,
right.
By bringing in this young kid that they could all kind of be mentored to. So, but it also serves another purpose as come back when we get into that Astonishing series. Sets up the beginning of her really big and understandable dislike for Emma Frost.
Well, it's interesting because this is on purpose. Like you read this first issue where Kitty's introduced, and we'll talk more about Kitty in a second, but Claremont this is the beginning of the Dark Phoenix saga.
Yeah.
All of the things that are seated here matter forever for X-Men canon.
Yeah.
And none more, like you said, the distaste for Emma Frost.
Yeah.
And when you encounter it later by other writers, you kind of get it, understand it, but when you read it, you really viscerally see why.
Yeah. I mean, her first introduction to the X-Men and Emma and the Hellfire Club kidnap the X-Men. Attack and kidnap the X-Men. Because at one point, I want to say Emma was trying to recruit Kitty as well, wasn't she?
Right.
Yeah.
And
Professor
to the Hellions.
Right. And so also at this point, Kitty's in the Hellfire Club is like, yeah, we're going to also kidnap the X-Men. So it's like you literally get this character introduced at a pivotal time, and then she becomes a pivotal role of, I think, the more important storyline. Not important storyline, but the beginning. She introduced in a bigger storyline in that the Dark Phoenix saga, but also, you have Days of Future Past, and you got to think about it. Her first two introductions into the X-Men, really baptism by fire.
Right. Very much so.
So, gotta say, very if you're gonna be joined, and she saves the X-Men. That's the thing too. Like Emma kidnaps the X-Men and takes them all out. Kitty, using her powers, follows them and gets onto the ship and follows them. So, not bad. I guess we talk about it now. Kitty Pryde's powers.
Kitty Pryde has the power to render herself intangible. That means she can phase through anything. When she phases through electronics, they go all crazy. She's also super smart, and because she's one of the stand-in characters who are going to be an audience surrogate, she can take under the wing of the coolest X-Man, Wolverine. She eventually becomes a fucking ninja. She also has horrible fashion sense, as evidenced by every one of her uniforms ever, and all of her stupid code names, including Ariel, Sprite, and Shadowcat.
Hey, listen, Shadowcat is not bad.
Shadowcat is where she landed. It's not bad because we're used to it now.
Right.
It's not a good name.
We're going to talk about these in order, but we'll get to that Kitty Pryde and Wolverine series where she actually where she learned to become the ninja, and where she comes up with Shadowcat. Yeah, dog. Yeah, the way she comes up with him, like, okay.
You can say all you want. I'm saying this right now. You want people here phasing as her power. They think, oh, she must be. No.
Oh no.
Kitty Pryde's a problem.
No, like, as with many of the mutants, as other writers get their power, sometimes they go overboard. But with Kitty's, she really becomes a problem because there's one part in here later on. I guess it's 174 is when her and Peter have their formal relationship start. That's where she had apparently learned how to walk on air.
Yep.
And not just walk on air. So that's all the first time she learned to do that, but also to be able to phase other people with her. So not only can she become intangible, she can make other people that she's touching intangible as well.
Like Kitty's been an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like this.
Right. Like she becomes like, yeah. Like we tend to think of, and again, if your only introduction is the movies and things like that, you tend to think, what the fuck can Kitty Pryde do? No, I'll never forget that one moment when she's brainwashing and Whedon's run, and she literally has the axe handle through Peter's head. Yeah. And it's like, tell me where my son is.
I'm like, you should probably just tell her.
Right.
Or just tell her where.
Anything is.
Just tell her where. Right. Yeah, I would just.
Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
Imagine, you put it this way. We've seen how Thawne, sticks his hand through people's heads and hearts and things like that. Yeah, that's Kitty Pryde, but.
But imagine if Thawne gave you a choice.
Right.
You can do what I say or I turn solid inside your chest.
Yeah. So, the way her ability to, and this has got another set of abilities that we'll get into when we get down more recently, but, like her, as you, the great thing about reading all this stuff as you go along, the more she trains with the X-Men, the more powerful she gets up until that point where she becomes so powerful in that Astonishing X-Men run where you see what she can really do, and you're just like, whew, yeah. Not something to be fucked with. So, let's see what else we got here. So let's just go ahead and talk about the creepiness of the beginning of the relationship, because I guess I kind of.
You know what? It's not just us. He points it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, and I believe the editor at the time didn't believe it was something that should happen.
A good idea.
Yeah, didn't think it was a good idea. And they later break up because of that, because it is creepy. It's like an 18-year-old and a 14-year-old, and even Peter's not the one that pursues it. But again, I've watched enough.
She's also very determined.
Right. I've also watched enough To Catch a Predator. That doesn't really fucking matter. Sorry, Pete, it doesn't. Like, she made me do it. Oh, dude, listen, just saying. Not gonna happen. And
while it wasn't clear at the time, they make it very clear, and later on that they never consummate a relationship.
Right.
It's still a creepy, weird relationship.
They kiss, but they never,
They kiss, and there's a lot of times where it's addressed, like she directly propositions him in the issue where, because there's an arc where they're capturing space. It's kind of when Claremont took the X-Men Cosmic, which we all should appreciate.
Yeah.
but they're captured by the Brood and they think they're going to die. And Kitty begs him for one night, and he says, "No, you're a child."
Yeah, no, that the 160 it's issue one, I think, not 160, 165. And you're just like, yeah, kind of creepy, and no.
Yeah, he says, he's like, no, it's not gonna, no.
But what I love about it is, again, I guess, God, like, hate to defend it, but you got to give Pete credit, again, that good-natured, corny, shy, I can't do it, at this point, I really feel like Pete, even as a 35-year-old Pete, would still be, like, embarrassed of, like, holding hands with a girl type deal. Because Pete's like the kind of guy you're just like, I actually believe they didn't do anything. It's like you can believe because Pete is too stand up of a guy.
And let's talk about the character of Kitty Pryde for a second here, because in 1980 whatever, that's revolutionary to have her pursuing him that strongly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For Claremont to give her that kind of agency and that kind of, and yeah, she was the proxy, like, oh, that's the audience surrogate in the book. She's literally the new kid getting injected so we can experience things that she does. For Claremont to give her such agency, like Joss Whedon's openly said that without Kitty Pryde, there's no Buffy. Mm-hmm. She became the archetype because for so long you've seen women, particularly young girls, cast as witches or enchanted because there's a historical connection to how much we fear the changing of a girl to a woman because it endows them with power, and that's why like witches were burned at the stake. Literally why it was done, because men were scared of women. Right. For Claremont to say, nah, I'm gonna take this literally the biggest comic book on the planet. Like in the 80s, fuck what you heard. It was X-Men and the rest of y'all. That's what it was. Occasionally Titans would pop up and they did the crossover and everybody made money, but the 80s were X-Men, which is why 1992's X-Men 1 remains the largest selling comic book of all time. Mm-hmm. Now, for him to say, I'm going to give not just this young girl a place on this team, I'm going to give her own sexual agency. And like, I don't know, man, he writes her such a badass. She's a badass from the beginning. And it's why after he leaves, and then she's taking these other places like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and I think he wrote the ninja stuff, but some of the other things that we're going to talk about later, it all makes sense because of course Kitty's a badass. She's always been a badass. Yeah. He came in and did X-Men The End as kind of like they did this Marvel The End series where everyone kind of wrote how their series should finally wrap up, and he did I want to say it was like a 10-issue arc on it. He has her as president of the United States.
Which you can see.
It makes complete sense.
Like, no, seriously, like Kitty is you when you read more about her, you again,
it's a whole, man. You just start reading one, you're like, I gotta read more. I gotta know more.
But listen, I mean, to steal a patriarchal phrase, she wears the pants of a relationship between her
much so.
Between her and Peter, she's the one you don't fuck with. She's the one. She's that woman that goes, people be out playing balls, like, I gotta check with Kitty first. Man, come on. Nah, man, I really gotta check with Kitty.
It's easier if I check. Like, well, you a punk? I mean, I ain't no punk. I'm just saying, like, it'd be way easier for all of us. Right. If I ask the question.
Right. Let's go ahead and let's be reasonable here, because she will not be. So
he knows his woman though. Right. He's like, she's the one who will cut me. Yes. You should just ask.
She definitely will. She would phase and let's not.
Yeah. No.
Let's not do that.
Pete, why are you scared? You turn to Russian steel. See the way her power is set up.
Right.
Really got no. Yeah. You're wrong. No. How much power I have.
I think Kitty is very, very underrated. Mm-hmm. By a lot of people, because again, the ways they wrote her. Again, I've made my jokes about things like what was it? It was
If it's the names, I've got them all.
No, it was Jubilee. I was like, yeah, fuck this, But with
you guys are haters, man.
Yeah,
I really do hate Jubilee.
I mean, because she doesn't. Because here's the thing. To me, Jubilee is particularly when you get to like the X-Men series, like the animated X-Men series. I'm like, really probably should have been Kitty there, and I just don't like. I think they wanted Jubilee to kind of fill the Kitty role, but when you read it, you're like, Jubilee never gets the agency and the storylines and the importance.
She's a support character from the beginning. Like, she shows up saving Wolverine.
Right. You know, and so I just it just doesn't fit in there.
It's hard to imagine someone saving Wolverine. He's fucking Wolverine. It's just,
exactly, you're right.
The whole thing is weird, and you get it, and it makes sense in the story. Just when you step back and say, what are the origins of this character? Kitty's is she was trying to establish which school to go to for mutants, and Jubilee's is she stowed away on a portal when they were in LA, and they took it to Australia, and she had to rescue Wolverine. Wait, why did that little girl rescue Wolverine? I don't know. They had to get her in the story somehow.
Right. So no, I'll stick to Kitty Pryde here. What do we else here? We got the so the relationship starts again. It's a little creepy there. But then I guess, and this is something we cover. You want to jump to Secret Wars 5, or do you want to do something before we get there?
No, do that.
All right, so we got Secret Wars 5. So we covered Secret Wars. Go back and we talked about it. We mentioned it before earlier. Go back and read our Doom series. I believe this is the Doom series part 1. Secret Wars.
So as well. I think that's where it stopped.
Yeah, that's where we stopped. And in Secret Wars, at one point, all the heroes get transported to, what is it, Battle World? No.
Battle World.
Yeah, Battle World. And at one point, Peter gets hurt. And let me ask you: do you feel like this is definitely just a way for them to end the relationship between him and the underage Kitty?
I don't think it hurt.
Because when I read it, it didn't really make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I think you're right.
You know,
it's a conversation worth having. Yeah.
Yeah, to me, like basically what happens is he gets healed by this beautiful, I can't remember what her name was, person who doesn't even speak English. They never have any communication, but she heals him, and she's so beautiful, and he falls in love with her. Now Wolverine suggests that it's because of her healing power, it's a side effect, his affection for this woman. But Pete becomes just so enthralled with her. Like that is, he goes from thinking about his Katya, he has her name for Kitty, to like struggling to think about her, to all of a sudden he's thinking about this woman. And so by the end, she ends up sacrificing herself to save him and bring the rest of the heroes back, and all this stuff happens. But his feelings for her have become so strong, he now believes that is his true love.
Yes.
And if it sounds weird, it's because it fucking is. Like, I went and read it, and the entire time I'm like, why do we keep coming back to this Colossus fucking story? Now, in the end, I guess they do use her as a tool to save all the heroes that were wiped out by Doom.
Correct.
But you could have done that without the whole love story thing. So it really comes into, like, I really feel like that's what they did it for. And I think I remember reading somewhere that the editor or somebody even said that that's what the whole purpose of it was, to kind of clean that up, because it was creepy to everybody. And I'm like, well, you could have just made her age. You could have just made...
Yeah, but I also think it was important to have her be that young for the viewpoint.
True.
I see everyone's point of view here. It was creepy. Right. They probably shouldn't have started it, but once they were down that road, they're kind of down that road.
Right. So that's what. But
can we talk how it leads to the greatest X-Men comic ever written?
Right. So what happens is Peter comes back and being the Peter he is, and I think sometime before then, because it's brought up in this, there's the Morlocks and Caliban and Kitty.
Kitty got kidnapped by Caliban to be his bride.
Yeah.
They had to go rescue her.
Yeah, and Kitty kind of tried to sacrifice herself to do that to help, save Peter and things like that. So you get the Uncanny X-Men 183, and Pete being the stand-up guy that he just has to fucking be, this is a guy who has a conscience, and again, remember, this woman he fell in love with died.
Also remember, this is the single greatest comic book ever written.
Yes. So Pete goes and he tells her that he cheated on her. He tells her that that he no longer loves her, and that he never loved her really, and that he wants to just be friends, and they break up. Kitty and Peter break up.
And if you're thinking to yourself, I wonder how can someone write that and make it effective? You've never read Claremont, because it's all about like the the way he does it, and it's all about the way it's drawn. It's really well done and really well communicated. I want to read the panel where he does it. She says, "Gee, you and the X-Men got kidnapped to the far side of the universe. You didn't take me along. I'm hurt. Anything interesting happened out there? I met someone else who fell in love." Ladies and gentlemen, Peter Sweden.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's his way of dealing with that.
Let her down softly, Pete.
No. He is a man of steel. There is no letting down softly. All right, there is no letting down softly.
I remember reading this as a kid and like, God, that was harsh.
Well, you're not the only one that thought it was harsh. Because, Wolverine, Logan, decided he's going to take Pete out for some drinks. And Nightcrawler comes along too. But not, you're thinking that it's because, oh man, they're trying to console Pete. And...
Yeah, well, I want to step in here. Mind you, these are the two best friends on the team.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also someone who's been under Wolverine's wing.
Right.
The panel says, "I was walking trying to clear my thoughts. A little late, ain't you? The damage has been done. Let me pass, please. Nope, you come in town with me for a little long overdue talk. Some other time, perhaps really not in the mood. Don't recall giving you a choice, Peter."
And I love how Nightcrawler sees this happen. He's like, "Wait, you told me I was going to be able to come with this. Like,
you said you wouldn't do anything without me."
Right? Like, Nightcrawler knows what's about to happen, but he's like, I want to be around for this.
Mind you, this is a character who's literally a priest.
Right.
He's just like, "Oh, I'm watching this. Get the popcorn."
So,
and I want to also say that this is before Wolverine was in every book under the sun.
Yes.
And he gave us our best version of Wolverine, which I didn't know was his best version, and which actually gives me hope for Logan. Because Wolverine that stabs ninjas is fun. Wolverine, the honorable man, fighting berserker tendencies, is also fun. Wolverine, the tinted team leader and headmaster, fun. Wolverine, the overprotective father, might be my favorite Wolverine.
Between that and two of my favorite Wolverine stories always involve bars. So it was this one. There's another one when he loses the adamantium and he ends up in a bar with the Juggernaut again. And he's like standing, the Juggernaut's standing up, and Wolverine's like standing on the tabletop to look him in the eye. And you're just like, God, you're such a runt, and you're just such an asshole, man.
So you're right, drunken overprotective father might be the best Wolverine, because what he plans to do. And what he does is kind of rip into Pete.
Right.
You go to the bar.
I got it. I got the panel. I'm gonna read it.
Oh, excuse me.
So here. You know, I've read this shit. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna read this shit. So he goes, "You owe Kitty an apology," and that's an exclamation. "I told you I fell in love with another. Is that a crime? What you felt wasn't love. How do you know? Are your enhanced animal senses able to see into my heart and soul?"
By the way, Peter. You're the high school kid who read too much poetry.
Right.
You reel it in, Pete.
Right.
And Claremont captured it really well.
Right. By what right do you have to tell me how to run my life? You're making a bad mistake. Peter. You're hurting two people I care for. Yourself, dummy, and Kitty. Should I have lied to her and pretended emotions that no longer Should I have lied to her and pretended emotions no longer exist? That would have been cruel. Are you certain of your feelings? I mean, is Nightcrawler. "Da, absolutely. You sure you ain't just scared? Of what? Sometimes, bub, winning is as hard to deal with as losing. Kitty's not a kid anymore, and you two were going beyond playing games. You were thinking about marriage, a life together. At the same time, you suddenly had competition from Doug Ramsey, someone Kitty's age, as smart as her, with the same upbringing and interests. It's easy to moon over a lost love than to fantasize over what might have been." Secure in the knowledge that it'll never happen. It makes a great excuse for not facing the risk of demands or reality. Yep. Yeah.
Which, by the way, I think we've met people in real life who could use that advice sometimes.
Yeah. At one point, like, Peter tries to throw back, I think, Miracle back into Logan's face. He's like, "Nah, that's the same thing. She didn't want me no more." So that was different. And I'm a man of honor.
Rid of me.
Yeah, she got rid of me, and I'm a man of honor, and I followed that. It's a totally different situation, yo. Basically, he's like, I didn't stalk her. She told me she didn't want me no more. I went away.
Out.
Right, and I was out. You know, ain't the same thing what happened here, Pete.
And then Wolverine starts to notice who's in the bar.
Right.
because it's Marvel in New York, every bar has at least 2 superheroes in it at all times. Or villains, excuse me. And he notices that Juggernaut's in the bar. And he does it in a way in the book where it's like, Hanson's has noticed him. Meanwhile, the art makes it clear he's bigger than every person in a 3-block radius.
Right. But I love it. I'm not going to lie. And again, this is one of the things, again, I like modern art. I like the way things. I like how they did that, though.
The panel where they faded in?
Yeah, the panel where they faded in, and you can see, it's almost like you would see it in a movie, how Wolverine is trying to figure out, I know Juggernaut is here, where is he? And granted,
it's like watching him smell his way through it.
Right.
And it's you're right, because a lot, and whatever, I'm not speaking to anyone's favorite artist here, but certain artists got so obsessed with the widescreen format of, I'm telling these epic stories that are so huge and so big, that little nuance like that John Byrne would do gets lost now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you're right. And the thing is, it is kind of corny because it is kind of like, it's a movie, but it's super effective.
Mm-hmm.
It communicates to, even if this was your first X-Men book, you would understand by narration and by paneling exactly what was happening, exactly how his powers worked.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It told the story in concert with the words.
Yep. So, and actually here at this point, like, Wolverine is like, Peter's drunk at this point. Wolverine's like, okay, he tells the Niger, he's like, listen, Kurt, we gotta get him out of here. Something's going on. I'll tell you when we get out to the street. He's like, we're not gonna start anything. And I think at this point, Peter, being Peter and drunk, when Wolverine tells him to get out of here, ends up bumping into Juggernaut and spilling a beer on him. And, a fight ensues.
Because of course it does.
Yep. And the
panel where Nightcrawler's like, we have to stop him. Peter might kill that man.
Right.
And Logan grabs him and says, nice thought, pal, but if anyone's in trouble, it's Peter.
Right. And you literally have Peter and Kurt sit on the side as Colossus and Juggernaut. Who, by the way, is not in his armor. He's in street clothes. All right?
He's there talking to a girl and got a beer spilled on him. Right. He got mad about it.
Right.
Logan says, we'll move in if things get out of hand. Until then, I aim to sit back and enjoy the show. It's what the boy deserves, but I was planning to do to him myself.
Right. Like, again, you got to think about, what we're talking about here, all right? Wolverine was talking about, he was going to be the one to whoop Peter's ass off of Kitty, right? So now he's like, oh, fuck it, I got Juggernaut to do it for me.
Yeah. Oh, save me some time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think at the end of the fight, once Juggernaut is taking care of Peter, he looks at those two. They're like, yep, no, we don't got a problem with you. Yeah, you're fine.
We good?
Yeah,
we're good. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you want you to do?
I got the panel. He's like literally, he gives him some money to give to the bar owner, which again, it's just funny as shit. And he's like, be seeing you, count on it, bub. How you doing, hero? All the pizza's still working. This is Kurt talking to Colossus. Leave me be. I need no help, Wolverine. At least all from you. Where is Juggernaut? Gone. Fight's over, Petey. You lost. You let me fight him.
When he says he lost, I want to make something very clear. Juggernaut hits him with the bar twice.
Yeah.
The first time, he picks up the bar in the bar and hits Peter with it.
Yes.
The second time, he drops the goddamn building on him.
Yes. Like, did you guys understand how this fight went? This fight went as you would expect a fight between Colossus and Juggernaut to go. All right. It destroys.
Especially one of them is shit-faced.
Well, here's the thing. It destroys the bar, but at one point they deal with it again by the bar owner going, nah, man, listen, if you're in New York, you gotta have superhero insurance. So, I love how
this is still annoying.
Right. So I love how they dropped that in there, though. You're like,
just so small. You didn't have to do it. They did it though.
Right. Then he goes, and you let him fight all alone. You didn't even try to stop him. Yup. We are X-Men. We are supposed to stand by each other. That's the theory. But you betrayed that trust. Oh yeah, we stand together. Is that right? Through thick and thin, no matter what. Yes. We go to the wall for each other. Yes. Pay any price, make any sacrifice, our lives in her honor? Yes! Like Kitty did for you? She's 14, Peter, but to save you, she agreed to marry Caliban and join the Morlocks. If Caliban hadn't released her from that vow, she'd be there today. You never even said thank you. Food for thought, eh?
Look, man.
Just FYI.
Drunken, overprotective dad Wolverine might be the GOAT Wolverine. I'm willing to have that argument.
He's not wrong.
Shit.
He's not wrong. So also in this book, you see Kitty decides she needs some time off. She's going to go home. And that's actually a good part because this is where the Kitty Pryde and Wolverine story picks up. It's issues 1 through 6, also written by Claremont. And this is literally where she goes. She finds out her dad is in with the Yakuza and Ojin, and she ends up becoming a brainwashed ninja.
Like, I also want to bring this up because there's a lot of 80s Marvel miniseries that tend to start out that way, like an estranged parent falls in with someone in high crime. Do these parents get like, I can go into debt, my kid's a superhero, it'll be fine?
Right. Did you ever think about that? Yeah, no. They don't.
Yeah, like, is that the math they did? Like, oh, maybe you shouldn't get involved with the goddamn Yakuza. Maybe you should mind your business. My daughter's an X-Man.
Right.
I'll be fine.
Right. Well, I mean, and what I find interesting what they did with her father in this case was, one, he had a family-owned bank, and they were trying, it was a rough economic times, and they were trying to help the community, and then he ends up making bad deals, and yes. By the end of the series, he ends up turning himself in. And he's like, whatever happens, happens, but you know what? I need to do the right thing. So it's like, the story is not only a redemption, not a coming-of-age story for Kitty, it's a redemption story for her dad too. He kind of redeems himself at the end. But but this is really where you see where Claremont takes Kitty into being, a grown woman. She had other names before then, Sprite, I think, Ariel, stuff like that. Nobody give a shit.
She wore roller skates at one point.
Yeah. So
that's a real thing that happened.
Right. So this one is where she comes up with Shadowcat. I know you don't like it, but it's still better than everything else you got.
It's way better. Comparatively, it's the best name she could ever dream of. It's just not a great name.
Yeah, no. And it is it is the where she becomes a ninja, and again, it goes back to what you were saying about Kitty in that Claremont allowed her and this character to get so much agency. At some point, again, she gets brainwashed into trying to kill Wolverine, and Wolverine literally has to bring her and train her to kind of undo this brainwashing. And while he's training her, it's on her to do it. Like Wolverine makes a point of saying like, "Hey, I don't know if she's going to be able to break this. If she does it, it's going to be on her own." And that's what she does. And there are several times in here, she goes on her own to try to take this guy out, who at one point was, I believe, Wolverine's old sensei. So she goes through trying to do all of this stuff, and it shows you how strong the character is and why. Like, if up until this point you're still not sure that Kitty Pryde is a badass, you read this miniseries. It's 6 issues, and I believe it's the second miniseries after the first Wolverine series.
Right.
It shows you why she's a badass.
Very much so.
It just does.
Emphatically and repeatedly.
Also shows why after this she's always called a ninja, because she.
And also why Wolverine's legitimately scared of her. He's like, I know, I don't want to fuck with her. It's like, you're not here to fight me, are you? He's like, no, okay, thank God. I don't have time for that today.
Right. Right. It also gives me one of my favorite panels of all time. At the end of this is when she decides she's not going to kill Ojin, right? She decides she's not going to do that. She's not going to go down a dark path, and Wolverine's like, that's a good thing for you. But he decides he's going to attack them while Kitty's back is turned. So Wolverine yells, phase, and she phases, and Wolverine stabs him through Kitty. And I'm just like, man, this is the Wolverine I love, yo.
Overprotective, slightly drunk father figure Wolverine.
This is why I love, again, like you said, before he got, maybe at some point we'll have to do Wolverine, and not the over, the oversaturated Wolverine.
We'll do the whole thing, because I think it's because he got to oversaturation because he was so well treated for such a long time.
Right. Look, I'm telling you, man, it's just.
There's some great Wolverines. People I know get sick of him. There are some absolutely fire Wolverines.
I'm sorry, man. Growing up, he was my favorite character just because, like, he was the runt, man. And, like, again, I'll never forget that image of him standing in his little cowboy hat, standing in front of the Juggernaut. Juggernaut's like, dude, I'm just here to fucking drink, man. I'm not trying to have a fight, man. Why, little man? Why are you fucking with me right now? I just want to fucking drink. Oh man,
is that so much to ask?
Right. I'm not trying to do this shit right now. But yeah, man. So I really enjoyed that miniseries and reading that, because again, it gives you a good follow up from what happens. Because again, the main X-Men series goes on. But this miniseries shows you what happened to Kitty in that time in between.
Mm-hmm. She takes her leave of absence, if you will.
Yeah, gives her her leave of absence and stuff like that. I think that's good for Kitty. Now let's kind of go back to some stuff with Colossus. One of the important things about Colossus is family.
Yeah.
And so there's two family figures that are really important to him. There's Mikhail, his brother, and Ileana, his little sister, who I can't remember the issue. I'll find it, make sure I put it in there. With the issue where somebody goes to is attacking all the family members of X-Men, and they kidnap her. So eventually, at some point, she comes to live with the X-Men and Peter,
which goes predictably bad.
Yes, I can't. When do they find out that she's a mutant too?
After she gets back, so at one point there's an adventure in Limbo, and it's Belasco. It's like a 2-issue saga, but Storm gets intertwined with Wimbo, and they take Colossus, the whole thing. But at the end of it, they find out Ileana's a mutant because she can activate portals. That's her power. Mm-hmm. She builds a portal out, and they're pulling her through, and they lose her hands for seconds. Mm-hmm. But when they pull her through, she's a teenager now. Mm-hmm. And she becomes magic and joins the New Mutants, and she's got a great character arc too.
Yeah. We're not going to go too far down into that, but yeah, it's a great character arc because she comes back later on too that we're going to deal with this. But in relation to Colossus, I guess the next big thing with him is when we find out that she's contracted the Legacy virus, right? Or
right.
Stuff before, yeah.
That's in the saddest X-Men issue ever written.
Yeah, that's 303, I believe.
With its Jean, Jubilee, Professor, and Ileana issue.
Yeah, and it when he says, I think it even tells you on the cover, like this, like, and it's like the cover. I think is like Jubilee crying on the cover.
Right.
It is unbelievably sad, guys.
Unbelievably sad. It's super. I actually bought it when we were at AwesomeCon.
Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, that's right.
I bought a copy
you did.
of it,
yeah. Yeah. So keep that in mind. Ileana dies from the Legacy virus. All right, we're gonna come back to that when we get into the next arc for Colossus. Before that, I want to kind of go back a little bit further than that with Mikhail when Peter finds out he's alive. Uncanny X-Men 285.
Right.
Finds out he's alive. His brother's also a mutant, has powers, and that's what the mission he was on for the state at the time. And it also adds in some extra understanding as to that Colossus origin story. Mm-hmm. Why the state was so interested in what possibly could have happened to Peter and why they thought the friend of Mikhail was lying and why that friend was there all the time because, well, you know, they knew that his brother was a mutant. They were using him to kind of he can also create portals as well.
Right.
So they find out Peter's alive. They find out that Mikhail's alive and Peter convinces him they need him to close his portal and he doesn't want to do it, but they convince him to do it anyway. And he gets scarred, and he's never really mentally okay since then. And so they go about 10 issues with him having problems, and it comes to a head in 295, where Mikhail basically drowns himself, Callisto, and the rest of the Morlocks in the Morlock tunnels. Right. And again, if you're noticing a theme here with Peter, like, he really has a tragic arc, yo.
Yeah, it really is.
He comes across so much tragedy. And when you think about what kind of a person he is and how much he will sacrifice himself for other people, you really need to know this. So he finds his brother. And the saddest part of what 295 is him. I don't think he ever told Ileana that their brother was alive. And right. So he had told her he had a surprise for her. And so when Mikhail dies in 295, it ends basically with Peter like telling her, it's like, no, I'm sorry, babe. I'm sorry. The surprise, oh, it was nothing. Don't worry about it. And you're just like, damn it, man. Like, damn it, Peter.
Yeah.
So it's sad.
He loses a lot throughout this quarter.
Right.
Being an X-Men costs the Rasputin family.
Right. And that's the important piece. Being an X-Men costs him. So now you cover him losing Mikhail, finding him and then losing him. Then you get to 303 where his sister, like his snowflake. This is somebody that Peter, again, remember, the first time you ever meet Colossus, he's literally running to throw his body in front of a tractor going to run down his sister. All right? His sister is his special snowflake. If there's anybody that Peter will pick over Kitty, his Katya, it's her. It's his
every
sister.
time.
All right? Again, that comes in important to play in later on. All right? So, she dies from a legacy virus in 303. 304 is basically when Fatal Attraction happens. And again, we covered that in the Magneto character corner. But this is also, I want to say, is 304, it definitely is. 304 is the funeral of Colossus' sister.
Yeah.
Tend to forget that, but that's what that is.
That's what starts Fatal Attractions.
Yes. All right. So I'm going to read the panels here. And this is Peter talking to Professor X. Peter, a moment, my son. I just want you to know how terribly sorry I am. Are you, sir? Why do I doubt that? Is it because I have trouble believing anything you say? When you asked me to leave the collective, you said, and I remember the words as if you said them only yesterday. Power such as yours belongs to the world, Peter, to be used for the good of all. On nothing more than your word, I left my family, my life, and didn't look back. I thrilled to those words, Professor. They made me part of a larger whole. Never once did I falter, did I question the validity, the cost of your dream. No God spotting, Xavier. I did not fail you. You and your dream failed me. Worse, it failed Ileana, and for that I will never forgive you. And you got to remember, these panels, again, it's drawn in the 90s way of stuff like that. But I love that last panel where you see just how close Peter is to Professor X. He's in this steel form, and he's literally hovering over Professor X in his chair. It's at this point that Magneto shows up. And obviously a great fight ensues. And this is where Peter, making what you could say a bad decision, but he's
making a decision. I can't tell.
Right.
Because
You're right.
He makes a very convincing point.
No, he does. So this is him. At this point, Bishop is attacking Magneto, and then Colossus comes in. And again, I remember reading this. This is a huge moment. All right, this is a guy who has been with the X-Men and has been a loyal X-Men all his life. This is goofy ass Peter. This is corny ass Peter. This is Peter that got dragged around by his balls by Kitty Pryde. All right. Perhaps we owe it to those people, to ourselves, to find an alternate to that fate. I've known this man for years, and witnessed the countless indignities heaped upon him. Have been privy to every agonizing step of his struggle. A struggle which, as you pointed out, is similar to our own, in content if not execution. Much like the professor, his commitment to his goal has never faltered. Perhaps had I had the strength of conviction to join him earlier, fought more aggressively for the rights of mutants, I would not have been here at the grave of my sister. What I am saying is that if you will have me, Magneto, if you will have me, I would like to join you in your chosen plight. There's nothing left here for me. You said, I can't disagree with him.
Yeah.
And at this point, again, remember the closeness between Logan and Peter. Logan screams out, tell me somebody's controlling his mind. For the first time in months, Logan, I feel like I am in control.
What else can you really say?
Yeah, I'm...
Especially on the heels after the issue where they killed his sister. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had no problem. Maybe sometimes you gotta go.
Hey, listen, man, you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. I can't remember what happened, and I know he goes to during this time. He goes because at this point, I think Kitty's with Excalibur. She's not an X-Men. Yeah. She's with Excalibur. I can't remember exactly what happens in Excalibur 75. Let me see, because they do have
75. They claim that. Hold on, let me pull it up here. Sorry. There's a claim that she pretty much tricks Peter into coming to Excalibur to get some tests run. Mm-hmm. They claim that professor, I think it was the professor, had been hurt. Hold on, pull it up really quickly. Yeah, they claim that he'd been hurt in a battle and they needed him to help. But what it really was a ploy for them to do a brain scan on Peter.
Yeah.
They said that they had they needed a professor and Moira to treat the head injury. The ploy was to bring him there so that they could investigate to see if a head injury had resulted in him leaving.
Mm-hmm.
They found it. They figured it out. And of course, Colossus figured it out because it's a comic book. But he forgave Kitty and went back to the Acolytes.
Mm-hmm.
Kitty then started dating MI6 agent Pete Wisdom, which ended really poorly, and is highlighted by Colossus beating the ever-living shit out of him at one point, which I enjoyed more than I would care to admit. Actually, you know what? Wisdom got his licks in.
Yeah.
They both ended up in the med bay afterwards, but that's when Kitty, the first time, she hit him with the "we're just friends" thing. You and me from now on.
Right. Also, remember, after Fatal Attraction, after, Magneto's mind turned to mush, Colossus stays. He doesn't go back down.
He takes care of him.
He takes care of him, yeah. He's there until the fall of Avalon. And then
he and Kitty eventually come back to the X-Men. There's no real interaction between them romantically. They kind of go different ways. Claremont leaves X-Men. Kitty goes in limbo. And then they kill Colossus.
Yeah. X-Men 390. I think
they decided as an editorial that the Legacy Virus has done enough. We need to move on editorially because it was actually a good point because for a lot of times it was like, you know what? Things aren't going great. Let's kill some. Things are going too good. Let's bring back the Legacy Virus.
Mm-hmm.
It had been kind of written as a way just to shake things up whenever you needed to. So editorially I understood it. Even character-wise, I understood the way it did it because what happens, they developed a cure, but it was unstable. And that it had to be utilized by a mutant activating their own power to make it airborne, to make it cross the world or whatever.
Right.
Beast says, we'll fix it. We'll finish this up. We'll refine it. And he ends up leaving, and Cecilia Reyes is there. Peter knocks her out and says that if I'd have been braver or faster, if they'd have been smarter, we could have saved my sister. And he tells Ileana he's coming home.
Yeah, so I got to raise some of that. Also, just want to say, Pete's always blamed himself for Ileana's death.
Always.
He's like, yo, if I never... He even says to Reyes, he's like, I brought her here because I thought I was lonely. Because I wanted to be around family. I left my family there. If I left her in Russia, maybe she never... Again, that doesn't make any sense because, again, the Legacy Virus is airborne. Who knows what would have happened? Exactly. But Pete being who he is, and it's such a... You got to remember, there's a strong man is a man who uses organic metal and becomes so strong. He literally is a Colossus with the world on his back.
Right.
He takes it all and he holds it up there because that's what he does. So he says after he had knocked out Reyes, he's saying this in Russia, I battled living islands, is a call back to their first, that is literally the first thing they did was battle a living island. I have fought Sentinels whose whole purpose was to kill mutants. I've helped to save the entire universe more than once. I've done all this and more, and yet the hardest thing I've ever done was watch my helpless sister, watch as my sister's life was taken by the Legacy Virus. Someday there may be a cure that does not require a sacrifice. Someday the violence will stop. Someday the children like Ileana will not be victims of the war they were not a part of. But I cannot stand by for even one more hour knowing somewhere someone else's little sister is dying from this disease. Snowflake, I'm coming home. And then
what can you say about that? Like, that's, man.
Well, even better, the last panel of this is him laying there as he's in his human form now after having transformed and injected himself. And they literally write in here the conversation that Professor X and him had from Giant Size X-Men. Yep. Is, you want me to go with you to America. If I possess such power, as you say, does it not belong to the state? Power such as yours belong to the world, Peter, to be used for the good of all. And believe me, your powers are needed. Then come, we will talk of this with my parents. And so this professor wants to take me with him to teach me how to deal with my mutant powers. There is wisdom in his words, Papa, but I am happy here. Tell me, Papa, what should I do? Do as your heart tells you, my son. It will not betray you. My heart tells me to stay, Papa, but my conscience tells me otherwise. I must go, Papa. then it is the right thing. It is right that you do that. Yeah. Yeah, look, that was good. I also got to say, too, the thing about that 303 issue when Ileana dies, Peter wasn't there. He shows back
up.
up.
Very end, yeah.
He shows up
really
at he shows up at the very end, and he's pissed. He's like, "What are all you guys doing out there? Why are all you guys not watching over my sister? If I had known you guys weren't to be here, I would have done it myself. What's going on?" And everybody's just like, speech is like,
that's the issue. I fell in love with Jean Grey.
Yeah,
as a character.
Yeah,
I finally understood. I was like, okay, I get it.
Yeah,
because hearing her and Jubilee talk about death, which by the way, people say comic isn't art. That issue's art.
No, that issue is art. It is sad. It hits you in the gut. And then when Peter shows up, man, and
he's so mad about them waiting for the jet and not getting to his sister, and you're just waiting like, God, you have to tell him.
Yeah, but that's why they're all there so they
have to tell him.
Right, they're all there so they can soften the blow. But like, you got to remember, this is a man who could literally destroy the mansion. All right,
we got to tell him. We have to tell him the right way, though.
Right.
Hey, let's go outside, Pete.
Right. Let's go for a walk away from any building.
Have you seen the danger room?
Right.
Let's step inside.
All right.
Talk there.
Right.
What about my sister? Let's talk in the danger room.
Yeah. X-Men 110 is basically a Kitty issue where she goes to spread Colossus' ashes.
You know what? Rereading it affects it. I find it less effective than I did it originally.
Yeah. I mean, it was okay.
Yeah, it was okay. It was supposed to be evocative of 303.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't.
Yeah, it doesn't. Like,
reading them side by side probably didn't do this issue any favor.
That's what I'm saying. Like, between the other stuff, like the 303, 390, like 304, when you read those up and then you read 110, it's not to say that 110 is bad. It's just, it's fourth. It's fourth in that. It comes in fourth.
It's like ranking the first 4 Outkast albums. Someone's got to be last.
Yeah, I mean, that's just what it is. I mean, I can't, yeah. So.
And Kitty kind of fades out of the X-Men at this point. She pops up in her own miniseries Mechanics, where she's a college student in Chicago. Mm-hmm. She pops up again in Extreme X-Men because Claremont loves her. Mm-hmm. And he brings back Rachel Summers through her. Yeah. But the real big return for Kitty Pryde, and it's amazing how it was. So, depending on how you feel about Grant Morrison's new X-Men run, I, for one, love it from the high concept. I don't love it necessarily as an X-Men story. It opens with that wild Sentinel destroying Genosha. And they bring Kitty back to the X-Men because her father was at Genosha at the time, trying to rebuild human-mutant relations. And Joss Whedon, the man who was inspired by Kitty Pryde to create a cult hero in Buffy, comes back and gets to write Kitty Pryde. And you know what? Honestly, I'm sure they pitched Whedon. I'm sure he had his ideas for a story. I'm sure that they gave him money. I'm sure it was a mutual publicity thing. I guarantee Marvel said, we're going to give you Kitty and Colossus. And he said, well, where do I sign? And I've already got the first 6 issues written.
Yeah. And they're, I guess when you read it, after reading it so many times, I guess there are hints that it's Colossus that they're bringing back in here.
But originally, like, I don't know if you were reading month to month at the time, it was like they leaked a page on the internet of Jean returning.
Yeah, no, I mean, you feel it's Jean. You think it's Jean. Everybody thinks it's Jean. Everybody thinks it's Jean. You think Jean is coming back.
Emma's convinced it's Jean. Emma's annoyed that it's Jean.
Right. And so it's like everybody.
Redheads won't stay dead.
Right. It's just everybody thinks it's Jean, and it's not, and it's Colossus.
Because you know what? In retrospect, you're right. We should have known. Right. It's Claremont. I mean, it's Whedon who's channeling Claremont, whose favorite character in the universe is Kitty Pryde.
What you bring back Kitty Pryde. I mean, it's like
this entire run is a celebration of Kitty Pryde.
Yeah. It also gives you one of the greatest reads of Emma Frost, yo.
Oh God.
Let's see. I'll be brief. Things are about to get very ugly for us here, so I wanted to. I'm sorry. There's a part that's not ugly. Scott Summers has been the leader of all his life. I see him question himself, taking orders from you. I never give. You talk about murder, and he doesn't even say a word. Why doesn't anybody see? Do you know why you're here, Miss Pryde? Because I asked you that you come. I'm in love with Scott Summers, and I'm very grateful to Professor X for his trust. Being an X-Men means a lot to me, but it doesn't always agree with me. I don't have a family famous for moral fiber. I like to think that I've evolved but I want someone on the team that I hadn't really fought alongside. Someone that would be inclined to watch me if I... And then here goes Kitty. The first time I ever met the X-Men, the first day, they were ambushed and captured and caged by you. I learned more about good and evil that one day than I ever have since my...
Before or since.
Yeah, before or since I was 13. When I think about evil, whenever I think about the concept of evil, yours is the face that I see. I don't have to watch you, Miss Frost. I can smell you.
Yo, she's half faced through the wall.
Right. Yo, dude.
Like, nigga.
Listen, all right. So not only do you gotta love Whedon writing this, but Cassidy drawing this shit is.
This also proves my point that John Cassidy draw everything all the time.
Yeah, no, it's just fucking amazing.
If you get John Cassidy in front of you, do whatever it takes.
Yeah. So you get, Kitty, and I love the scene, the page where Kitty finds out it's Colossus, because she finds out she doesn't fucking move, and he walks through her.
Even before that, because Kitty burning Emma is my favorite thing in the entire fucking series.
Yeah.
Emma, it was a long speech. The mutants aren't a community, pumpkin. They're pathetic sheep begging to be shorn. 3 students were missing from my ethics class. 17 overall. Logan had to break up 2 fist fights and a mystical sword fight. And that dreadful Guatemalan cryboy at Benetech telling reporters that every minute only chance to avoid burning in everlasting hellfire. This is eating us from the inside out. They're debating this cure for mutants. Emma's giving an impassioned plea about how much it matters. They're not a community, how they need to be leaders, and the students are missing. And Kitty's only reply is, oh my God, you teach ethics.
Right. She's not wrong, though. Like, you let Emma Frost teach ethics. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you. That's one thing I had to get in here. Sorry.
Yeah. But the panel where she finds out that it's Colossus is so great because there are no words. There is 2 panels. I mean, it's 2 pages with no words. The first panel is literally Colossus there in steel form. Then she sees him. She's phased. He runs through her. She doesn't do anything. All she does after he runs through her is touch her heart.
Yep. And
then she's like, Peter, stop. And then, yeah. It is, dude.
Am I finally dead? Good Lord, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's literally almost no words spoken in those last few panels, but it's everything that you needed for Colossus coming back, yo. It's so good. And also leads to my favorite, and we haven't talked about this. There are, so we've talked about how Logan, Wolverine, and Colossus, Peter, are like best friends, right?
Right.
They have a special move.
Oh, before you get to the move, we're going to get to the move. This is awesome. Kitty, I'm sorry. You have to know that if you're a clone, a robot, or you're a ghost, or an alternate universe thingy, I can deal. But if you're some shapeshifter or an illusionist who's watching me twist, I will kill you. I will kill you with an axe. So right away, just prove it. Show me something I can't catch you. You died. Peter Rasputin died, and I carry his ashes to Russia and scattered them myself. You did. Thank you. By the way, that's a terrifying threat from a ninja girl who can phase through walls.
Well, you know what's funny about that? She said, I'll kill you with an axe. Later on,
dude,
they use the axe handle to actually try to kill him for taking her.
Foreshadowing, man.
Foreshadowing like a mother. There's foreshadowing throughout this entire... Like,
you really can't go back and reread this without being like, I either feel real dumb or I feel like they're real smart.
Look, man. I know we've already done comic book clubs on this one. I might go back and do another comic book club.
We need to mention volume 2.
Because, listen, like, this shit is...
so good.
Like, the entire 24 issue, well, 25 technically if you include the annual, which really has the end. The giant size. It's fucking phenomenal. Like, this is one of my favorite X-Men stories. It's all 3 parts, but it still comes down to a Kitty and Colossus story. It is fucking phenomenal. If you have not read it, stop listening right now. Go read it and then come fucking back. Because look, we can spend another hour talking about this fucking series.
I'm about to say, we're going real deep here. We're going to astonishing the rest of my life.
Right. All right. So we're going to try not to do that. But, like I was saying.
Talk about the throw, dog.
Yo, listen, the fastball special, yo.
Strong right hand.
Listen, it first comes up, apparently you find out in an X-Men 100. I mean, Uncanny X-Men 100.
Oh, the first come back to the fastball special.
Yeah. I actually I was like, when's the first time they ever did a fastball special? that is when. There's actually an article I found that had their top 5 fastball specials.
I saw that.
Right. And so the first one ever was in X-Men 100. There's another one that actually doesn't end so well in A Days of Future Past.
No, it does not.
It works because, again, remember, this is Colossus, who's really strong, throwing a guy who's metal. Think about that. Like, and a guy who's basically indestructible himself and has a healing factor and it can be berserk. So that leads to, again, one of my favorite panels in that first volume of Astonishing X-Men. So Ord's getting away. He has the mutant girl that is the cure for mutant kind. So they're all standing there and like, we were briefed on this, but you were briefed on you're going to brief me on this, I'm sure. Can you bring him down? Not a chance. Ord's in the ship and he's gone away. He's got the bloody serum. People hit him with the jet. There's a girl in there with him. You have to help her. You're not seeing the big picture too well anymore. You know who's saying that? It's obviously Emma. He's building to a vertical thrust. 10 seconds and he's gone. Peter, no, he doesn't get away. You feeling rested up, Petey? I am strong. Like, listen. Look, yo, I love that is Pete's reaction to that. You feeling rested up? I'm strong. Like, it's so Russian and just. Then I got 2 words for you, and they don't even say. But the next panel of Colossus launching Wolverine towards that ship. And again,
Cassidy drawing that with that duff to wind behind him,
dude, it's so good.
It's so good.
It's so fucking good, yo.
I'm sorry, I loved the Star Wars books. The one when they took Cassidy out of the book, I was like, I don't know. Look, it's not even. It's just like I've just been spoiled. Like,
yeah, I mean,
you can't give me 8 issues of Cassidy. Like, okay, he's leaving now. No.
It's just it is so fucking good. Yeah, man. So I really love that. I guess, I mean, we could go through the next 2 volumes. I think they do have to Colossus and Kitty stuff.
They finally sleep together?
Yeah, they finally sleep together. They have really there's something that happens
at this point. I'm gonna push the readers to make sure you put down that money, go premium, and listen to our comic book club on this book.
Hey, look,
because we don't have the time. Like, I literally have a show in an hour.
Right.
We don't have the time
we can't do
to
it.
go through this entire thing and all the cool Kitty Colossus stuff that happens in it. A light sprinkling would include, but not be limited to, them having sex, Kitty phasing through the floor, Wolverine smelling them in the kitchen saying about time.
Right.
It would include Kitty getting trapped into her own mind by Emma Frost to the point where she thought that she and Peter had a child. Mm-hmm. And you get to see the links to which Ninja Phase Girl will go to defend her child. Mm-hmm. By the way, those links are fucking terrifying.
Yes.
You then get them one time, again, consummate relationship on an alien world, and possibly, in my opinion, the greatest speech ever delivered in comic books. It's the one they end the whole thing with. It was given earlier in the series. I'm going to read the whole thing here. Everything is so fragile. There's so much conflict, so much pain. You keep waiting for the dust to settle, and you realize that this is it. Your dust is life. The dust is your life going on. If happy comes along, that weird, unbearable delight that's actually happy, I think you have to grab it while you can. You take what you can get, because then it's here, and it's the title of the last issue. It's called Gone, and it's when Kitty sacrifices herself because Joss Whedon's a goddamn monster, but they wouldn't let him kill her.
Yeah.
So we had to do the best Whedon thing you do and rip out our hearts after 24 issues of falling back in love with Kitty Pryde.
Right. You finally get
when I tell you that, like, I get choked up reading that like, it's so good.
Yeah. No, you got the thing with Kitty's in the, so you get the whole thing with Ord and Break World and Colossus being the breaker of worlds, and you get that stuff going on there. You have Kitty trying to stop this, basically this hollow bullet. The Break World is firing, not Break World. What is it? Yeah, it's Break World. It's firing off at Earth, and she's inside of. Remember, she's had trouble phasing through this metal before.
The whole time, from the time she saved Peter.
Exactly. So she's telepathically talking to her, to Emma.
Who she hates.
Yeah, who they both hate each other.
It's a mutual hate.
Kitty, can I put your mind? Can I put you somewhere else? I can make you less afraid. Nah, I'm gonna see this through. Peter should know. Well, he should already know. So don't worry about it. This was never meant to, not you. Yeah, I was supposed to take you out, as I recall. Disappointed, Miss Frost. Astonished, Miss Pryde. Yeah. So good.
Yeah, just read this right. I'm sorry, I can't. I don't have the time or the emotional availability to go through this time. Yeah. Right now.
But it's a great run. Read that. It leads into the next stuff. So basically, what happens is Kitty is stuck in this thing and is heading towards Earth. She's the one that stops it by. She's able to phase the entire bullet through the world.
Because Kitty's a goddamn gangster.
Right. And so what's happening is, because it's unstoppable, it keeps going, and that's what you're going to constantly see. That's what she's constantly doing this entire time. She's stuck in this thing. She is phasing this bullet. When it comes across a world, she phases it through a world. That comes up later on. You see this happening at one point where they have this issue where I don't even think they have words or dialogue with it. There's a race of people in this one world that they literally see the thing coming towards them, and they're basically like, it's the end of the world. Like, we're all going to die. And the bullet phases through their Earth. Because
it's not even that. It's that not even when she phases it goes through Earth, she can't unphase the bullet.
Right.
It's perpetually phasing. It's tied to her somehow.
Right.
We covered this in the Magneto character corner.
Yeah, we did. So that leads me to Uncanny 522. So again, you can listen to Magneto character corner, read some of that stuff. You'll see Magneto's finding a way to get back in to show the X-Men that he is now good and willing to follow them and do what this is. So he gives them a gift. And the gift he gives them, he brings Kitty home. Yeah. She can't phase back to being solid, but that is she's back home. He
brings Kitty home.
The joy you see from the X-Men when they finally realize what Magneto's doing. Because you as a reader don't get it at first either. And
no one gets it. You're like, what the fuck's he doing?
Right. And then all of a sudden you get it. And like, you get it around the same time they get it. And you're just like, is he doing what I think he's doing? He's bringing, oh my God. Yeah. So, yeah. You reunite Colossus and Kitty again. From there, I read Uncanny X-Men 534 through 544. That's the Karen Gillan wrote some of this stuff.
Yeah.
So this is basically you get the conclusion of the Brick World.
Isn't that Greg Land too?
Some of it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which sucks because I like Gillian.
See, and it pulls you out of it, doesn't it?
You know what? It never really pulled me out until you guys started talking about Greg, and now I can't unsee it. Like, once you're told about Greg Land's drawing, you can't unsee it, and so
it's really distracting.
It becomes distracting because basically what happens is you feel like the characters don't move.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't. They like it's like they're posing all the time, and you just don't get any emotion. But I want to say that not all of those issues are. That might have been the Uncanny 1 through 24 that he did afterward. Let me double check that. Let's see. Uncanny. This would be the 2011.
He drew a lot. He wrote a lot. Drew a lot.
Yeah, he did. He did. Yeah. Yeah, I think he takes over. Let's see. He takes over with 540. So if you read, yeah, because you can tell. So 534 through 539, that's not Land.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can definitely tell. Yeah, when you look at the drawing, it's definitely not Land. Let me look at the Fear itself stuff. Yeah, because
543 is definitely fucking Greg Land.
Yeah. That stuff is definitely him. The important thing here is, one, you get the Brick World conclusion. So the Brick World conclusion stuff isn't Land. Okay. So you can probably go back and read that. This is basically Kitty becoming tangible again after Ord basically comes back with all these refugees from Brick World because they're basically like, hey, you guys upset everything and you fucked everything up.
Right.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed getting that conclusion. You know, when you end the Astonishing X-Men run, you're just like, oh, it's over. And here you're like, oh, no, it's not. It's not over. And it's I think to me it's a fitting conclusion, and it also ends with Kitty being restored to basically be able to become tangible again. Mm-hmm. So I really enjoyed that. The Fear Itself run with the Juggernaut and basically Colossus becoming Juggernaut. Yeah, this is basically when I think 543 is when Kitty finally leaves Peter. But what I liked about
542 is the one where he takes the power, though.
Yeah, he takes the power. And basically, what happened here was Illyana's come back, and I can't remember when they bring Illyana back. Like we kind of skipped over a lot of stuff.
Her stuff's super complicated.
It is, and so we kind of skipped over that stuff. But the important thing here to remember is she comes back, and she's done something really horrible because she's been locked up. I can't remember what she did, but yeah, she kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
And so what happens is, in order to stop this Juggernaut who has been possessed by something and it literally become the top, like the X-Men remember at this point the X-Men are basically their own PR person. They're trying to save San Francisco so they can, ease human mutant relationships because there's not that many X-Men left. There's not many mutant left. And, Juggernaut is literally coming to like destroy everything. And he's more unstoppable than ever before. So the way to do this, and the way they decide to do this is they're going to go. What's the name of the demon that controls?
Cyttorak.
Cyttorak. They're going to go to Cyttorak, and they're going to get him to appoint a new Juggernaut. And the plan was that Illyana gives to Cyclops is she'll do it, right? Because like she'll become that new Juggernaut. She'll sacrifice herself and basically give up a piece of your soul to do it. But come on, it's Peter.
Of course she couldn't do it. You couldn't let her do it.
It's Peter. Like, he's not going to... what I like about this is...
the thing I hate about this is that I love Gillian's writing so much, and I hate this art so much.
Yeah.
Like, because the issue where... So, eventually, Cyttorak abandons Juggernaut and goes to Colossus, and they fight, and the Fear Itself overlay pulls back Juggernaut from the fight. And Colossus says to... So this is what happens afterwards. So they come upon Colossus. It's Illyana, Cyclops, and Kitty. Why didn't you tell me about Illyana, Scott, that you would have her bear the burden of this curse? Scott says, we didn't know that Cyttorak would accept, for one, but if he did, we wanted to lock the power away from anyone who'd misuse it. Illyana was experienced in this sort of thing. She volunteered. We knew you wouldn't understand. Colossus says, this sort of thing is demonic possession. Do you know what that means? Would you let a demon drag your soul through the fire? Cyclops, of course, being in peak dick mode. If that's what it takes and you're in no position to question me, I'm furious to you too. You're not qualified for this.
Real quick, do you want to say at some point we will do a Colossus story?
Cyclops one?
I like later Cyclops.
Oh, no. Me calling him a dick was not an insult.
Right.
It's a statement of fact.
Like,
He's a bifacted dick. However, this is the best fucking Cyclops you can get.
Right. The more and more I read the new Cyclops, the more and more I'm like, yo, I like this guy.
He's and someone says it later in the books, he's the culmination of Magneto and Xavier.
Dude, at one point, later on, the next year when they create the extension team, and they're sitting at, let me see if I got it. I think I saved it for this because it was so fucking hilarious. So Storm is sitting there. Let me voice the obvious concern, Scott. You're talking about Iraq and North Korea. We're called the Extinction Team. And let's play a game. Raise your hand if you've never gone through a stage that others characterize as mainly supervillain. Around the table is Colossus, Illyana, Danger, Magneto. I think it's Hope, Storm, Cyclops, Namor, and and Emma Frost. So he goes, raise your hand if you've never been characterized as a mainly supervillain. Your hand's up, Scott. Are you absolutely sure it should be?
Your hand should be up.
Emma goes, oh, he's working on it. Mind you, other than this, only two other people have their hands up, and it's Hope and Storm. And like, Scott has his hands up, and you're just like, Scott, no, wait. You were definitely a supervillain.
Scott, put your hand down. We'll talk after. Just need you to put your hand down, partner. We'll talk after. Yeah, we're good. You're good. No, you're fine. We'll talk after.
Anyway, go back to the Cyclops thing. I'm sorry.
No, you're 100% right. We need to do a Cyclops character corner.
Yeah.
And we may do maybe one of those ones we do for us because he'll never be properly presented in media.
No.
Scott's berating Juggernaut and Colossus exactly. Says, "You are not qualified for this." He says, "No, I am. I am my sister's brother. I will be this Juggernaut. Now leave us, Summers," which is awesome. And then Kitty comes back. "Nice work, Pete. Thank you. I was being sarcastic. Please, Katya, you do not judge. What would you have done? After everything, would you make Illyana give up more? I don't know. Maybe the Illyana I knew would have, but the Illyana I knew wouldn't have risked her friend just to make sure she got her revenge either. Is that your little snowflake, Pete? You can't understand what would drive someone to that? Of course I can, but I wouldn't have done it. If I really couldn't have lived with that revenge, I would have killed myself. I wouldn't be that selfish because I was just because I was hurting. And you know what? You wouldn't either. You'd have sacrificed yourself rather than risking anyone else, because that's what you do, Peter. That's what you always do. That's what you did today, and that's why we can't be together anymore. By the way, this is a very affecting series of panels, distracted by the fact that Kitty Pryde looks nothing like fucking Kitty Pryde. Sorry.
Oh yeah, in the second list where she's talking, she looks like a black woman.
I don't know what's happened here. I hate you, Glenn. And that's why we can't be together anymore. It's great that you're willing to die for me, Pete, but I need someone who's willing to at least consider living.
Mm-hmm. And what's interesting about that is earlier on in the series, when they're talking about that, is they're having a conversation and it's almost the same. And Pete's like, "She's my sister. I can't abandon her." Stop saying this again before any of this happens. Stop saying that. I know you wouldn't be you if you did. But how can you be so sure she's your sister? I loved her too, but your sister wouldn't have done what she did. No, whoever she is, he's not like that anymore. You die for me, you die for her. You died for anyone given a half a chance. She risked killing everyone on the throw of a dice. You manipulated anyone to throw those dice. And to whatever she is now, you're just like the big lunk who can twist around in her talons. She's my sister, Kitty. I can't abandon her.
And just because I'm in this issue right now, I have to read the last part of this issue, which is Cyclops. And people wondering, oh, how did boring Cyclops get cool and interesting? What are D. Palm and Chris talking about? He's talking to the mayor of San Francisco after they got through this crisis. "Sadie, I know you plan to destroy Utopia," which is where the X-Men and all mutants were living at the time. She says, "Scott, don't worry. I understand. It's your responsibility. Made me realize what's mine. You may notice your body's no longer under control. Across the street is a citizen of Utopia, a telepath. She's paralyzed you. If she wanted, she could make it permanent. If she wanted, she could stand you up, walk you to the window, and have you throw yourself through it. If dozens of mutants who do something similar. Perhaps artificially provoke a stroke. Perhaps tweak a valve in your heart to manufacture an apparently congenital defect. No one will ever know, but you will be dead. I like you a lot, Sadie. You've been good to us. And we will continue to do everything we can for San Francisco. We will never be victims again." Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Summers.
Wait, but I think at the end, there's one more panel. There's like when she says...
I was going to read that part. Because, it's still him, but I'll finish it.
Yeah.
She asks, "Scott, I have to ask. The voices offer. Betray us for your safety. Did you consider it?" There's a panel without words. He then turns back to her. In a panel that, I'm going to read the words in a second, but I need you to understand the panel has Magneto in the background. He looks her in the face and says, "Of course not." And walks down the hall. So when I tell you that the Cyclops character corner is not going to be what you think it's going to be, I mean that shit.
I'm just saying, man. I think I want to say, like, ever since Astonishing X-Men, man, I just like when you write, you can write. Listen,
writing Cyclops well is a good thing.
Yeah. So at this point, you we'll get ready to wrap this up. We got you still get the Uncanny 1 through 20. I can't remember if Land is drawing those as well. I don't know.
I believe.
I think he probably is. There's a Colossus part of the extinction team. Mm-hmm. Kitty is with the new X-Men.
As the headmistress.
The headmistress. But then she eventually leaves and then comes back to the Cyclops' team.
That was way after AVX and everything.
Way after that.
They bring the original X-Men from the past. Mm-hmm. I'd say X-Men in the comics got weird, but actually kind of cool recently.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Done a lot of crazy shit, but the bottom line is Kitty, like you said, bounced around a little bit. She became the headmistress. She dates Iceman before he discovers he's gay. And she ends up going into space and replacing Peter Quill as the Star-Lord.
Yeah.
And she's recently, with a new run of X-Men comics that were just announced in the last 2 weeks, she's going to be back on Earth in a main X-Men team in a book recently coming out soon. Colossus, like you said, he was part of the Phoenix Five. Afterwards, his powers were broken. He was in an X-Force series with Cable that no one read. Sorry. And he's been in some of the new X books. He's in the new X book with Nightcrawler, Storm, and Old Man Logan, so it feels very much like an 80s Claremont feel to the book. I think Rachel Summers is going to be in as well. But yeah, it's the characters, relationship-wise, I think it's done.
Well, I mean, she's engaged to Peter Quill.
We'll see how that works.
Well, I mean, yeah. I don't think... Here's the thing. Engagements never work well in
not in comics.
So, like,
either get married or someone's going to die or be broken up with.
Right. And she now has... she's become a little bit more powerful and things like that. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah... relationship-wise, they're not together, but who knows what happens. If you remember, in the Days of Future Past, granted that future is no longer longer there, they were married and had kids. Mm-hmm. So, who knows? Oh,
and I found the book that has Colossus' grandson in it. It's called Jim Next. There was 2 miniseries. I think the only person in America who read it, but it featured a very there were kids of X-Men, but the kids were all very multiracial and multifaceted, and I thought it was really well done. There's a couple ongoing mysteries. One of them is clearly Mr. Fantastic's kid, and he's always. It's really interesting and really well done. And I thought I enjoyed the books, but yeah, probably no. I don't think anyone else in America read it.
Another one, Age of Apocalypse, Generation X. Yeah. Again, if you just want to condense your tragedy,
just read Generation.
Just read Generation X. You can get the tragic nature of Colossus in that.
That was it. Yeah, that's 100%.
That is again. We did a comic book club on Age of Apocalypse. Just read Generation X, and you will get that there. Anything else before we get into
other portrayals on the media? Kitty and Colossus were both featured in the Marvel Fox X-Men movies. Excuse me. Colossus is known for a cameo in X2 where he defends the mansion against intruders. He offers to help Wolverine. He says, no, get the kids out. He's in featured player in Days of Future Past where...
And he's more featured in X3 too.
Sorry, I misspoke. X3 where they botched the fastball special.
Oh my God! It was fucking ridiculous. Didn't he swing him around or some shit like that?
Man, this is why you need a little person to play Wolverine. He's a runt. Well, he's not Hugh Jackman.
Either that, or you make when Colossus
is huge.
Yeah, when Colossus is in his steel, because that's what's supposed to happen. He's 6'8" in when he's in human form. We did in steel form. He's 7'5". So you could make him again. That's why the Deadpool. That's why the Deadpool.
Colossus made sense.
Made sense. He's fucking huge. So
her power's down, so no comparison point.
Well, yeah, right. That's also that.
They also appear in. They're both in. No, actually, I don't think Kitty actually appears in the first original animated series. Colossus does as well. They're both in X-Men Evolution. Kitty as a featured member of the starring cast. Colossus was a guest star who opened up as one of Magneto's henchmen, but it's revealed that he's doing it to protect his sister because, of course, he is.
Yeah.
They were also characters in Wolverine and the X-Men, wherein Kitty Pryde was dating Iceman. There was no relationship there. Where else have they appeared? I think that's it.
Yeah.
Kitty obviously is the damn MacGuffin and damn Days of Future Past. It's not her powers. It made no sense. Kitty also appears she's mentioned in X1 at the very end when Professor Xavier says that in retrospect, semi-threatening speech to the president that I have a girl who can walk through walls. She then is played by Ellen Page in X2 and X3. And in Days of Future Past, I guess she'd bring her back. Well, again, is Ellen Page. And I think that was it.
It's made more dangerous when you say I have a girl that can walk through walls. When you know that Kitty's a damn ninja, but she's not a ninja in these, so it doesn't really matter as much.
Because they walked into the Oval Office during a press conference.
Yes.
You don't need to walk through walls. You could kill him right now if you felt like it.
Right. I mean, you're in the overalls. And you should all, whatever. All right. There we go. Guys.
Terrible. Sorry.
That was a lot, yo. I
didn't think it'd be this long.
Oh, here's the thing. No, here's the crazy thing. We cut out a lot.
Yeah, we yada yada.
We had to I forgot. I wanted to bring in there because it is a special character. First appearance is Uncanny X-Men 166 Lockheed. The special bond that Kitty and her dragon. All right.
It was revealed in Astonishing that the dragon is actually a spy.
Right. For sword, and later becomes a teacher in one of the schools.
Yep.
Teach I think how to defeat aliens. I forget what the name of the course is, but Yeah, but it's important because you see he becomes a spy and betrays Kitty, and they kind of downplay that. Well, they never really have that conversation then, but he misses her when she's gone. So it's like it's an important thing. But I wanted to bring that out there because people were always ask, "Hey, where did Lockheed come from?" And always something shows up. It's like 166. So again, we had to cut a lot out here. Because I didn't think we'd go through this much, man. It's an hour and 45 minutes right now. I didn't know we'd go through this much. And again, we cut out a lot here, but that's what happens when you talk about X-Men, man.
It gets, like I told you guys really want us to just give us 24 hours and tell us an X-Men. We can really pull this off.
Right, man. You see what we did here. So much to cover, but there's a lot of stuff here. I'll make sure I'll put them in the show notes for here. All right, man. I know we talked about some X-Men stuff that we want to do later on. Let's kind of get back into DC. What do you want to do for DC?
Okay, so I hadn't actually thought about this at all. I need to start reminding myself that we're going to talk about this at the end of every one of these.
Every time, man. Every time.
Every time. You're right. I apologize. Let's see. What are you reading right now that's DC wise that you really that's kind of?
Oh man.
We've done Connell. We've done Wally. We've done. Well, what's the character? Let's see. They're doing Savitar. There's no point in doing Savitar.
Right.
I mean, just not. I'm not trying to be rude about Savitar.
No. Do you want to do the Green Lanterns?
Nigga, what? No. What? How much time? I mean, we can, but yeah, let's do it. Let's do Green Lanterns. That's fine.
I mean, we can break it into two. You thinking you can do one?
It's going to be at least 2 parts. I'll say that much right now.
All right, let's do it. I mean,
yeah,
people been asking for it, so I'm just like.
So, which are we doing? Are we doing the 4 Musketeers?
Yeah.
Are we just doing Earth Lanterns?
I mean, I guess you got to talk about the. You could do. Yeah, I guess you could talk about the core in one of them.
Let's open with the core, and then we'll just do chronologically from there. We'll see how far we get. We'll probably get through Hal and John.
Yeah, Hal, John.
And then we'll continue just the whole story and roll in Guy and Kyle in part 2, and then obviously as the core expands and contracts, we'll talk about it from there.
All right, sounds good to me. All right, guys, there you guys have it.
By the way, everyone just heard me get trapped. Everyone heard it.
Hey, look, this is why I asked.
It happened in real time, y'all.
This is why I ask. I don't demand. I ask. It was on my list. I saw that. I'll give you a choice: Green Lanterns, 2-parter, or Aquaman.
Green Lanterns. Okay. Sorry.
All right. No. All right. I tried.
No, I mean, I'm in the middle of reading the new Hal Jordan book. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you've caught me in a place where that's very
okay. I got you. All right. We did it. All right, folks. Thank you guys very much for listening. Again, leave us a 5-star review on the Character Corner feeds on iTunes or Stitcher Radio. Mainly on iTunes. We'll only read them on iTunes. 5-star review, we'll read them on there. Or you can email us. Let us know what you guys think about these. Share them with your friends. Share them with Marvel. Share them with DC. Share them with anybody. You can get us, get us meetings with some of these people because I think we do a good job on these. And I know people really love them, and we love doing these. They're so much fun. Next one's going to be the Green Lanterns, and we go from there. Again, join the MTR Network group, not the page, the group, and we'll approve you. Find us on MTR Network on YouTube. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, again, Character Corner, stuff like that. And guys, thank you guys very much. Until next time, we're out of here. Peace.